Gracie Abrams and Phoebe Bridgers have some very strange beef going on right now, and Taylor Swift just publicly endorsed Phoebe Bridgers' new album during its first week of release, but she didn't do that for Gracie Abrams' new album last month. So I guess we know whose side Taylor Swift is on, right? Wrong, and here's why. Right off the bat, I understand something is going on between Phoebe and Gracie. They both dated Paul Mescal. People have been dissecting the lyrics that seem to reference each other. There's a lot of details there that I understand why people are talking about it. This video is not about that. Taylor Swift is perfectly capable of being friends with two people who may not like each other. The music industry is really small. These relationships tend to overlap. Taylor is still very close with Lena Dunham and Jack Antonoff, and they dated for years. And that's because adults are capable of navigating complicated relationships without requiring everyone they know to pick a team. And Taylor has very publicly supported both of these women. Phoebe and Gracie both opened for Taylor on the Eras Tour. But naturally, the moment Taylor posted about Phoebe's album yesterday, people online started trying to manufacture beef between Taylor and Gracie. And if you are inclined to believe that based off of which album Taylor chose to endorse, I'd like to give you some additional context. Yesterday, before Taylor's endorsement, news broke that Phoebe Bridgers' Lost Weekend was projected to debut at number 2 on the Billboard 200 with around 114,000 units, which, to be very clear, is a phenomenal first week. But Phoebe is in a competitive race for number 1, and almost immediately after those projections came out, fans of Phoebe and Taylor started immediately tagging Taylor Swift and basically saying, "Girl, do something," because they understand how this works. If there was ever a time where a little extra attention from the biggest pop star in the world would actually help Phoebe, it's right now. Gracie Abrams' release week was a completely different story. Gracie's Daughter from Hell was always the clear contender, tracking for number 1. She was never competing with someone for the top spot, and when the final numbers came in, the number 2 album finished with about 38,000 units behind her. Gracie didn't need the Taylor Swift boost, and not only did she get the number 1 without it, this was Gracie's first ever number 1 album on the Billboard 200. So I also think we're making a pretty big assumption that Gracie necessarily would have even wanted Taylor to step in. Maybe there was something meaningful for Gracie about reaching that milestone entirely on her own numbers without anyone being able to attribute part of her first number 1 to an endorsement from the biggest artist in the world. She didn't need Taylor to get there, she did it herself. And this gets to the very strange catch that comes with being Taylor Swift's friend. She's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't. If Taylor Swift doesn't publicly promote your album, people analyze it as evidence that she doesn't support you. But if Taylor does promote your album and you subsequently go number 1, suddenly people want to put an asterisk by your accomplishment and say, well, Taylor got it for her. And before we go any further, let's establish a few things because we like to operate in reality around here. People who work at this level of the music industry care about the charts. They just do. There are enormous amounts of money, time, and labor invested into these releases. These artists have professional goals and their labels have expectations. And yes, they want their work to succeed. There's nothing wrong with that. Wanting a number 1 album does not make you less artistic. Commercial ambition and artistic integrity are not mutually exclusive. And on the other side of that, not getting a number 1 doesn't make an album unsuccessful or inferior. All of those things can be true at once. Years from now, when people look back at an artist's discography, nobody's going to relitigate every stream, every sale, and everything that happened during those 7 days. They're simply going to see debuted at number 1. So let's come back to Taylor and Phoebe. They're very close friends. Her friend is now in a very competitive race for a number 1 album in an industry that Taylor Swift dominates. Let's take a look at what Taylor did. Okay, she didn't tell people to buy the album. She didn't tell Swifties to stream it on repeat. She posted for Phoebe's birthday, mind you, and gave the album a glowing recommendation, calling it an absolute triumph in every way, and specifically praised the vulnerability, detail, and honesty with which Phoebe writes about grief. So Taylor's endorsement is not Taylor pushing some cheap chart tactics here to get Phoebe to number 1. No, it's a very famous musician telling hundreds of millions of people, I listened to my friend's album, I think it's exceptional, and I love the person who made it. Now, is that a powerful endorsement? Absolutely, and that is exactly why Taylor Swift is damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't. Because the same people pointing out that Taylor Swift did not endorse Gracie's album are going to criticize Phoebe once she gets a number 1 because Taylor Swift endorsed her. Bottom line here, Gracie did not need the boost. Phoebe looks like she might. That's the difference. It doesn't mean Taylor chose Phoebe over Gracie. And it certainly does not mean Taylor Swift does not support Gracie. Taylor Swift is simultaneously being criticized for supporting her friend, wielding her influence to help that friend get number 1, and not supporting another friend. You people are more obsessed with Taylor Swift than I am.